Hey guys, welcome to Ask Jungle Scout, episode number 14. Today with me I have Carrie again to help me answer your top questions. Thanks for joining, Carrie. Awesome to have you.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here again.
Absolutely. Now I can see that we've already got a few questions in the chat box. So today we're gonna just jump straight into the chat box and begin answering some questions. Alrighty. So let's see. Is there any that you've seen that jump out to you, Carrie?
We can kind of go down. Let's see here. I saw one about the Supplier Database. When I use Jungle Scout Supplier Database, it is frustrating because I can rarely find the suppliers that I want to do business with. Are you guys planning on updating the Supplier Database anytime soon? So I can answer that question.
Yeah.
Do you have that ability to display that one? So with the Supplier Database, the way that it works is it basically, we take all of the import information. That's all public information. So when anyone imports into the US, there's a public info of, in record of all of the imports that we have of the company name and what they've imported. So we basically take all of that information and we put it into our database for us to be able to find. So if you're having issues finding a supplier, it has to do with maybe you don't have the exact legal name that they're importing with. So sometimes people might have a company and it might be called something on Amazon, like, we have Jungle Sticks, but we might be importing under, Jungle Creations as our umbrella company. So the key is to find the LLC or the exact legal name that they're importing as. So that's basically the way, and it's only imports into the US. So it's not like a perfect science there, but basically all of that information is, we've made it so that you can easily sort through it. Otherwise you would have quite a challenging time sorting through all of that information on your own without the database. So that's basically how it's. And so yeah, my advice to you is to look for the legal name, and sometimes it takes some Googling to do that. I've found some legal names by Googling the actual company and kind of looking at their info. So yeah, that's basically the way to do that. Do you have anything to add, Lenny?
I guess all I would say is that you won't always find the supplier 100% of the time. Essentially, it relies on the US import record existing. If there isn't any records, then like we can't get you that data. So we're showing you everything that is available. And while it does work quite a lot, you won't find it every single time you put in an ASIN or you search for a product. But it's like the fact that you can get any of this information at all is pretty awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it makes it a ton easier than before. So I've definitely found a lot of great suppliers using this method. So it's definitely a great resource, and it's definitely up to date in terms of the legal records that are out there.
Yeah, awesome. All right, the next question here is from Michelle, who says, "Hi Lenny, I'm doing product research. Do you have any tips for 2020 product research? And what is your opinion on selling low-priced items?" Well, I guess I can start off here and then you can jump in with your thoughts, Carrie. In terms of tips for 2020 product research, they haven't changed. I haven't got any new product research tips that are specific for this year. Really, all the tips that I'd previously have would still be more or less the same. If you look at many of the numerous videos that we have on our YouTube account, or if you're a Jungle Scout member looking inside of our academy, or Greg's own Freedom Builder Bootcamp, which is our paid course, which goes even further in depth into the process. In all of these channels, we cover a lot on product research and kind of the best strategies and things to look for when you're looking for a product. Really it's just, I don't want to go into it too much, but the same things that we normally talk about, looking for high demand, low competition, that sort of thing. But more specifically, when you ask about selling low-priced items, I'm not a fan of selling low-priced items because the profit margins do become very, very low. The reason for that is that part of your FBA fee or part of your Amazon fee is a percentage of your sales price. So that will go up or down depending on your sales price. However, part of your fee is also a set fee. This is what Amazon charges to pick and pack your product and send it out, the sort of fulfillment costs. And let's say that that's $2 or $3 per unit. If you're selling a product that's $50, then that ends up being only a very small percentage of that overall price. Whereas if you're selling a $10 product, that $2 is now 20% of your your product price. So it ends up costing you a lot more essentially, or it just reduces your margin quite significantly because that's a set cost. So that's why selling low priced items is quite tricky on Amazon. Where I don't mind low priced items is when you find opportunities to bundle them with a related product so that you can increase the product value. So you can take maybe an $8, $10 or $12 product, find something else that people frequently buy with it, and then bundle that into a $15, $18, $20 product. So that's when I don't mind looking at low price products, but not to sell them at that price, but more so to bundle them or find a way to sell it at a higher price. Would you have any other thoughts to add to that, Kerry?
No, I think that's pretty much everything that you covered. I don't see anything changing in terms of product research for 2020.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like more strategies on how to launch, or there's probably a lot of other things that are changing in 2020, but product research really just stays the same. It's really the tried and true strategies that we've always shared.
Totally agree. Yep.
Alrighty. So looking through the comments here, I've got a question from Ibrahim who says, "Hey Lenny, so I just made my first order from China and paid for shipping. At this point, is there anything I should be worried about, like customs, documentation, or miscellaneous fees?" What are your thoughts on this, Kerry?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some taxes and things that you usually you have a broker. So my question is, do you have a broker that you're working with to help you with all the different miscellaneous fees that come? It's different for each product category. So that would be my first question, if you have someone working with you on that whole process. I'm not necessarily an expert in all that, just because I just kind of follow instructions of the of our broker. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Lenny.
Not so much. No, that's pretty much it. I think you covered it.
Yeah. So definitely just make sure you have someone like we use Hackney and Hackney. Yeah. And basically they tell you everything to do, and you want to have somebody that knows what they're doing when it comes to that kind of stuff. We have had some crazy situations where we've had to destroy our stuff, but it didn't have anything to do with extra fees. So yeah. But yeah, taxes are different for each category. Yeah.
When it comes to things like customs and a lot of that documentation, if you're using a freight forwarder, they'll kind of help you through that entire process.
Yeah.
And yeah,
exactly.
So personally, like, I've never really had to deal with too much of that, because like that stuff's like way above my head, and I let the professionals kind of deal with that, and that's kind of their job. So
exactly. Yeah, same here. I just do what they say.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, let's see. All right, so, oh no, maybe I'll go back further. How often do you experience black hat tactics on your listing? Question again from Michelle. For me personally, I don't think I've had too much experience with having black hat tactics on my listing or from competitors and so forth. Not that I'm aware of. Personally, I don't look too much into black hat tactics, because I'm just kind of a big believer in playing by the rules. And I know that there's like lots of groups out there, or like mastermind groups, and like lots of people that do kind of delve deeper into kind of black hat tactics. But I feel like there's enough sort of white hat stuff that you don't need to. So I'm not aware of too many of the black hat tactics that go on, and therefore I'm not aware of, or like I don't see them that often. So I don't have too much to share here. I don't know about you, Kerry.
I mean, I've definitely experienced some, like for example, some sellers will pay people, maybe they find them on Craigslist, or maybe they're just like the bigger reviewers from those review groups, and they'll pay them to write bad reviews and like even take pictures, and you can tell because they go all out. And it's something, the reviews are usually kind of so bogus and so out there that you're just like, wow, this is not even close to reality, especially if you know your product and you've done quality control. So I've definitely had that happen, and we've contacted Amazon. I do hope that they're working on combating that type of thing. There's some different bots that are used to help with rank by, you know, adding things to the cart. I don't know if Amazon has done anything to stop competitors from doing that, because that helps their rank. So they basically have a bot that adds things to a cart slowly, and it boosts their rank over time. So there's definitely a lot of black hat things going on, but I would definitely suggest to stay away from it and do the best you can to just follow the rules, do the right thing, and I think it'll be okay. I mean, we have quite a few reviews already, in terms of, you know, like when I get those bad reviews, and we could tell because it was like within a week's time, it was like bam, 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 bam of these reviews, and you know, we're just keep on keeping on. Now the hardest part is if it's a new product that's launched, and then they kind of attack your new product, and you get bad reviews, because you essentially might have to just delete it and create a new UPC and do all that work again, because it's hard when you have like a first review that's terrible. So, but usually if you're not on the radar, if you're not in their mind competition, usually when you're launching a product, it wouldn't be, because they're trying to attack people they see as a threat in a competition, and when you're first starting out, they don't view as that. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, I don't know of any other black hat things, but I know there's definitely a lot out there.
Yeah. I mean, just to sum up what you're saying, like, I think we're both kind of a fan of just kind of focusing on the things that are working, and that, you know, if you do experience some of these things happening to you, most of the time most of the time it will blow over. You just need to move forward, like you said.
Yep. Just stay positive, keep doing what you're doing, and that's really what we do. So, yeah.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Alrighty. Next question here is from Michael, who says, is there any intention of rolling Fetcher into Jungle Scout? Please don't. Okay, cool. So for those of you that don't know, Fetcher is a tool of ours that helps you with your sales analytics and understanding how your Amazon business is performing. So others of you have been following Jungle Scout for a while. You might also know that we have actually rolled out a sales analytics feature within Jungle Scout. So really the intention here, I'm sorry, Michael, the intention here is to bring Fetcher functionality within Jungle Scout. We're not doing that by, we're not actually like physically moving, I guess, Fetcher into Jungle Scout, but more so what we've been doing is rebuilding the Fetcher functionality into Jungle Scout. But we're doing an even better job now. We're, you know, we've been able to learn a lot from creating Fetcher and bringing it inside of Jungle Scout. Now, you said please don't. I know that there's probably a few people out there that would prefer to have both of those tools separate. But what we've found from talking to a lot of people is that most people we've talked to have really wanted all of that functionality in one spot, so that in the same dashboard where you're doing your product research, you're launching your products, email campaigns, we've got an inventory manager where we've got a whole bunch of new tools in there, keyword research, that they wanted the ability to also in that same dashboard view all of their sales and all those analytics. So that's why we've actually brought sales analytics over to Jungle Scout. And what we've actually found is that we're building what I think will be an even better tool than Fetcher. We still have some more work to it. We're still, adding more functionality to our sales analytics, but it will be a tool that far surpasses, I believe, the current version of Fetcher. If you're still using Fetcher now, then I would continue to keep using that for sure. but you will be able to access all of your sales analytics, PPC data, all of that within Jungle Scout, plus have access to a whole bunch of our other tools. One of the other tools that we've released inside of Jungle Scout fairly recently that I think complements sales analytics really well is our inventory manager. You do get a couple of these metrics within Fetcher that tells you, how many days remaining worth of inventory. But now with inside of Jungle Scout, we've really elaborated it and made the inventory manager its own separate tool so that we could get more precise and you can really sort of dial in your inventory management even further. So Michael, I'd encourage you, if you're not already a Jungle Scout customer, to try it out. And I think you'll find that the functionality that we've got inside of Jungle Scout and the benefits of having it all in one place will really outweigh kind of having them separate. That's my take, at least. And we have had a lot of great feedback on that. I don't know if you have anything to add, Carrie.
Yeah, I mean, definitely we want to make it even better. I don't know if you wanted to drop your email into the chat or, send us your email. Maybe we can work with you and make sure to, see what features you like most about Fetcher, so that we can maybe get you over to talk to a product manager, make sure you, maintain all the things that you find are important. We'd like to do, customer interviews and make sure that we're bringing over everything that you like about Fetcher. So the goal is for it to be better and not, not worse, for sure. So we want to not only bring the best features, but then improve upon them. So yeah, if you want to drop your email in the chat, that would be great. So we can contact you, just see what you like about it best, and make sure we maintain some of those things.
Alrighty. So on to the next question from Ali, who asks, is there a way to obtain an EAN UPC barcode without starting a company? I cannot use the manufacturer's barcode since they do not have any, so I need to buy myself. You shouldn't need to start a company in order to purchase UPC barcodes. I'm pretty sure I didn't use a company to purchase mine. Would you say the same thing, Carrie?
Yeah, I don't think you need to have but even if you did need to get an EIN, it's really, really easy to get one. So, but yeah, you should be able to just go purchase the UPC codes.
But again, without a company. So like, I'm pretty sure when I just purchased them as an individual, I don't think you need to, you don't need to be an entity or a company in order to purchase UPC barcodes.
Nope, you don't.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, I guess, you can do it as an individual, and our place that we recommend is gs1.org is the safest and the best place to kind of order your UPC barcodes.
Yeah. Yep.
Unless, of course, you're Amazon brand registered and you can get the GTIN exception.
Yep.
Cool. But Ali, if you do have any follow-up questions there, or if we haven't quite answered your question, then make sure to drop it down below, and we'll try to clarify if we haven't quite answered what you're after. All right. So Rob says, hi Lenny, hi Carrie. I've just had my brand registry confirmed today. Oh, congratulations. Do you have any recommendations for the best way to set up your listing with the new additional extras that you get? Yeah. This is a really great question. So we're talking about enhanced brand content here. I think the additional images and text and so forth that you get on your listing. I'm just trying to think specifically in terms of how I would set this up. I mean, the first things that come to mind is you'd want to highlight the benefits of your product and do them first. So there's a number of different layouts, but essentially it's a combination of like picture and then, sort of text below. And the way that it's displayed can change a little bit. But essentially, I'd be focusing on getting big, beautiful images. You can include text there. Personally, I would try not to have too much text. I'd try to tell as much of it as possible in the images. I'd list out all of the top benefits of your product, and I would position the most important ones, like what are the things that are most important to your customers, make sure that they go at the top, have them higher than the other benefits. And then always be thinking in terms of benefits rather than features. So rather than saying like we've got an extra long handle, it's like that's kind of the feature of the product. It's like, well, how does that actually make a person's life easier? I don't know what it would be. It means like maybe you won't get burnt when you're, I don't know, grabbing something off the stovetop, or like try to be highlighting the benefits that your product gives and not just talking about the physical dimensions or the features of it. So I guess those are a couple of things that come to mind for me. I know, Kerry, you were developing a lot of the content for Academy. I think you might have done that. Yeah, you did the listing creation one. So do you have any tips on how to set out your enhanced brand content?
Yeah, a lot of what you're saying is, for the enhanced brand content, first of all, you do want to do those major points that set you apart. Having nice photos. Something really cool when you're setting it up is you can see the view based on mobile or desktop. So you can see what it looks like on mobile. And most people are actually purchasing via mobile. So I always like kind of test out to see what it looks like on mobile first, because a lot of people will do like infographics on the enhanced brand content, but then the actual text, you can't even see it. So I would just make sure to focus on getting some beautiful images. Any text that you have on the actual image, make sure it's really big and easy to see on mobile, because with enhanced brand content, it comes up first on mobile above the bullets. So you want to focus on making all those, the main points, selling points of your product first in enhanced brand content, just because now that you have enhanced brand content, it's going to be first. Those photos are going to be what's first too. So they're going to see their enhanced content photos before as well. Something else to think about is you can actually add a video now. So you can, if you don't have anyone who's created a product video for you, you can actually you can contact someone on the market and they can create videos for you. But product videos are really great, or just showing how your product works in a little video. It'll show up in the images section at the lab mail. It'll be a little video. I think that is a huge benefit. And actually see how many people watch your video and how many people watch it to the end, which is really cool insight in my opinion, just to kind of see if the video is working. Is it interesting to the customers? Is it helpful? So a video is a great thing. If you have multiple products, you can also set up your Amazon store, which you can list all of your products in your Amazon store and then send your pay-per-click ads directly to that store, so that all that people see when they click on your pay-per-click ads are your products, because they're being sent to your store. That's something that'll set you apart too. There's a lot of great benefits in just setting up your whole listing and just positioning yourself for more success. But I would say first focus on that enhanced brand content, get those beautiful photos, check it for mobile first and foremost. Also follow the guidelines. They have guidelines out for how big the photos should be and all that stuff. So follow those guidelines. And yeah, I think video is probably a key component of all of this. I think people really like videos. I, as a consumer, really like videos to figure out how a product works, if it's a little more complicated, or just kind of get ideas. Do I want this one? So video, I think, is probably, something you should want to let investing into 2020.
I think video is very underutilized on Amazon.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest thing you can do to set yourself apart. I know I've been doing a lot of shopping on Amazon recently. I'm getting a new puppy, and so I've bought like 100 products. There's so many things that I need to buy, but I've been constantly like trying to decide between this product and that product. And the one that has like a video where I can kind of see the product in use, I get to see the size relative to humans and things like videos really give you an idea of how something works in a way that even images can't. Like images are great, but videos can really help sell you. Like there's a lot of times where I'm like, I'm pretty sure this seems like a good product, but then by watching the video, that is sort of what kind of closes the deal for me. I'm like, yep, this is the product I want, and I go ahead and buy it. So I'm glad that you added that one, Kerry. I think video is a big one.
Awesome. Hopefully that was helpful.
If you have any additional questions, Rob, then drop them in there. But again, congratulations on getting brand registry. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kerry, the next question is from Truth Eli that says, let's say you jump the gun and now you have a struggling product in a niche which has a single dominating seller taking 90% of the sales and then the remainder going to the others. How do you suggest recovery? This is tough because if you were in the product research stage and you saw that, I would say don't go into that niche. In terms of what to do now, yeah, I guess maybe it depends how much money you've got wrapped up in this, but I don't know. I think maybe long term, I feel like probably the best thing to do here would be to try to salvage all of your initial investment back and see if you can drop your price, run some PPC, and try to sell off your product and get your money back and reinvest it into a better product. There might be some ways to come back a little bit, but if one seller is dominating 90% of the sales, then that's going to be really hard to compete with. Do you have any ideas, Kerry?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like when we first start, showing you product research, we usually recommend that if somebody is taking 90%, it's usually some people are going to be brand loyal to whatever that product is. Maybe there's a possibility that you could bundle it with another product to kind of set yourself apart. But then I don't want to suggest that you pour more money into it if it's already kind of losing in that scenario. But yeah, make sure your listing it has great photos, that you have great keywords in there to help boost your rank. And I would say once you sell out of your inventory, maybe move on to a different product that's going to help, bring in some money. Because that's usually a hard thing is when something is dominated by one seller, it's usually a brand loyalty that comes with that. I wish I haven't had this experience, so I don't really know how to dig out of that other than to sell out of your inventory. And I think, you will sell out of it eventually, and then kind of look for other products where it's more spread evenly throughout the sellers would be my suggestion. Yeah, I'm sorry. I wish I had more advice for that.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough one because I'm definitely an advocate of trying different things to try to get, optimize your listing better, try to get more sales happening, experimenting with different pricing or different advertising methods to try to boost your product. But at the same time, on the flip side, I've also seen a lot of people, and I've done this myself, where I've continued investing into a product that just had really low margins or was really competitive for too long, and it took me too long to decide to just find a better product. So I also don't want to say to hang on to that one for too long when you could be out finding a better product. So ultimately you'll have to make the decision here. But if one seller really is dominating 90% of the market, that does seem like a fairly clear indicator that it's probably not one that you want to be in long term.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just scrolling through the comments. Where are we up to? RSA is saying, where is the paid course? Is it in the web app? So I believe we've actually recently just kind of closed the doors for the first cohort of our course. So the idea with the course is it basically includes some live coaching from Greg. And so with the course, in addition to all of the content and the modules, you get this live coaching from Greg, and it basically helps give some extra support that you can't get otherwise, whether it just be through watching our videos and so forth. And so that's one of the really big benefits of the course. But in order to make sure that everyone gets more of that kind of exclusive, more personal access, then we do need to close the doors from time to time. We will be reopening it again. I'm not sure about the date for that. It will be somewhere in the first half of this year. I don't know exactly when. We are still kind of working on it and trying to make it better every day, but we will be reopening the doors for that one. It will be at freedombuilderbootcamp.com. I believe if you go to freedombuilderbootcamp.com, you can leave your email address and we'll email you as soon as that one is open again for more registrations. So that is that one. All right, so Marcel asks, does Jungle Scout work in Australia? Unfortunately, it doesn't work in Australia as of yet. Australia is still a very new market, and so essentially we just need the market to kind of mature a little bit more. We need to essentially have more sales going through the marketplace so that essentially we can get more data in order to make sure that all the estimates that we give you are accurate. So it's still going to take a little bit of time before we get to the point of being able to offer estimates in Australia. But I do believe at some point we most likely will move into that market as well. All right. Do you want to take the next one, Carrie?
Sure. I think when I read it, it was about an artistry. Can you?
Oh, yes.
I am a
I've got
3D artist and graphic. Okay. Yeah, I'm a 3D artist and graphic artist. I build Amazon product gallery. How do I find more customers? So I think what this person is saying is to maybe build Amazon stores for Amazon sellers. And I think the best way to do that is you could apply to offer your services on the Jungle market, or there's also Fiverr and Free Up and a few other kind of freelancer sites where you can actually promote your services there. So that's where I would recommend to do that. Otherwise, I don't. Maybe you could let me know if there's any other questions. Also, just as a graphic artist, you could do things like merch by Amazon, where you create your own T-shirt designs and sell them on Amazon, or and they do print on demand for you. So there's a lot of great things you can do if you're a graphic artist. Those are just some suggestions right there.
Yeah, I think those are good ones. I don't have anything else to add. I've seen that that merch thing. I can't remember what the name was that you just called it, but it looks kind of interesting.
Merch by Amazon.
Yeah, I'd love to kind of hear stories from people that have tried that out and what sort of success they've had.
Yeah, I've seen some really interesting just stories where people, paying attention to current events and putting it on a T-shirt made, lots of money in just 1 week, like 40K in a week, just because maybe they heard a politician say something and it was funny and they put it on a shirt, put it on Amazon, and you just got to be creative, and it's actually a really, really cool way to make money without having to hold inventory. So something to think about.
Yeah, and I think it works particularly well if you do happen to have a brand or a business off of Amazon. For, I don't know, for instance, if you've got a successful Instagram or something like that, where people follow a lot of your designs, and then you can start offering products that have your designs on them. That could be, a really cool little business venture.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
All right.
See, where the next one I think is which level of Jungle Scout do you recommend for sellers that are in the initial market research for their first product? Do you have any thoughts on that, Lenny?
Yeah, so currently the options are you can get Jungle Scout, which is our main tool. You can get our extension, which runs live on Amazon, or you can kind of get the bundle with the two of them. In terms of if you're in the initial stage, I guess it really depends. If you're, looking to get this started the quickest, and you're ready to go now, and you're ready to kind of find a product, and then as soon as you get through the sourcing stage, place an order and get things going, then the bundle does work really well, where you've got the combination of the Jungle Scout main sort of web tool as well as the extension. You don't have to have both of those. You could just start out, I personally, I would probably go, oh, this is kind of a tough one. I was gonna say I would just go with the Jungle, if you're just starting out, you could just go with the Jungle Scout main tool or Jungle Scout web app, which includes like the product database, the opportunity finder, and our keyword scout, which are really good if you've got no idea what products that you wanna sell. So if you wanted to, you could just start out with that one. The extension, it's hard because I do love the extension as well. It's really nice just being on Amazon and being able to just like quickly click that and getting a snapshot of all of these tools on Amazon. But I don't know, if you had to choose between one of those and you weren't gonna get the bundle, I'd probably go with Jungle Scout because you've got access to all the keyword search data, you've got the opportunity finder and the product database, which will help you find ideas that you can't just think of. The extension is really great. If you have ideas, you can type them into Amazon, then you can kind of like get a snapshot of how they're performing. But if you don't have those ideas, then it's really hard to just come up with them just by sitting at home. So if I was just starting out and I had to choose one or the other, I would go with Jungle Scout. But if you're looking to like take this really seriously, then and you're ready to like go now, then I would also encourage you to look at the bundle as well because they do work really well together. Having like both the web tools and the extension. But if budget is kind of an issue to when you're starting out, I'll probably just go with Jungle Scout. I know it's kind of like a longer answer, but it's harder to answer. What do you think, Carrie?
Yeah. I think, whenever like I think about completing a task, having the right tools in your toolbox is really, really important. And I think the extension and the web app are really important because you use the web app or our Jungle Scout to find products and opportunities, and then use the extension to validate them. So they really kind of go hand in hand, and it's $49 a month at that price. It's pretty affordable. Also, you get the Academy information in there that teaches you how to sell on Amazon. And so I would really recommend the $49 tool to start out with. If money is an issue, this might not be the best business to start out in, just because you are going to need, a few $1,000s to get going. And $50 is a pretty low amount in comparison to what you're actually going to need in terms of, money for buying inventory and stuff like that. So I would recommend just having all the tools in your toolbox to make the right decision. As we saw earlier when we talked about somebody who jumped the gun and they purchased a product that there's one seller that has 90% of the sales. Well, you can see that with the extension. When you pull up the extension, you would see that almost immediately. So I would say that they both really work hand in hand, and I would recommend to get the bundle to have all the tools at your disposal, do the best you can to launch that product. And if you don't have the budget for it, there's other options and ways that you can start to save money, maybe selling your stuff, doing some retail arbitrage, some different tactics that you can find on YouTube to kind of build that capital up so that you can really have a good start on Amazon. So yeah, I really think they're both necessary. And Jungle Scout is $39, and then the bundle is $49, so it's only $10 more. So yeah, that's my recommendation, just to have the right tools in your toolbox always to do the best job possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about any tool, the idea really is just to kind of save you time. A lot of the time, you can perform most of these functions in other ways, but the purpose of a tool, and particularly ours, is to kind of save you time when you're doing a lot of these things. I think it's at a point now where product research, you really do need a tool these days. I mean, that's why Greg created it in the first place. So it's not really a question of whether you need a tool. But yeah, certainly it makes your life a lot quicker. And when you're starting a business like this, the quicker you can get to that point of making sales, the better. The sooner you can get some quick wins, the sooner you can see like that first sale to like validate that like, wow, this business idea thing actually works and I can do this. The quicker you can get to that point, the better. It just kind of, you have to put so much energy and time into it that the sooner you get to that first checkpoint, the better. And so by using our tools, it'll just get you to that point quicker. So yeah, I'd agree with what you're saying there, Kerry. But if you do have any more specific questions about the tools, or what it offers, or anything like that, then feel free to drop it in here or send us, reach out to Jungle Scout support at junglescout.com, and we can answer any product questions that you might have if you're not sure about something. All right, so let me scroll through here and see where we're up to. All right, Ibrahim says, where can I find the best and most affordable freight forwarder? This is a fairly easy one. The place that we recommend people to go to is freightos.com. That's essentially where you can get a bunch of quotes from lots of different freight forwarders, and then you can compare and contact each one and see which one is best for you. But that's the best place to go to get an assortment of different freight forwarders. All right. Omar says, is there a way to find out if a product would violate infringement rights? This is always kind of a tricky area because, now we're talking about infringing upon patents and trademarks and so forth. And so we normally start these answers with a disclaimer that we are, not lawyers or we're not legal professionals. And the best way to kind of go about that type of check is to actually employ a professional to make absolute certain that you're not infringing upon anything. Otherwise, we do have some good videos inside of, on YouTube in the $1 Million Case Study, as well as inside of the Jungle Scout Academy in our tool. Greg breaks down some sort of quick and dirty ways that you can do some basic checks to see if see whether you could be infringing upon someone's patent or trademark. And those methods will give you a bit of an idea. That's sort of the poor man's way to do it. And by no means does that guarantee that you're not infringing upon something. But if you are willing to take slightly more risk and you don't want to go pay a professional, then that is probably, that's where I would start at least. Because that might tell you that you're like, yep, there's definitely a trademark there. I'm not even gonna bother with it. Or it might tell you like, okay, it doesn't seem like I'm infringing upon anything. And then at that point, you can decide whether you're happy enough with that analysis or whether you want to be absolutely certain and go to a professional. So yeah, that's probably what I'd recommend, is checking out those resources inside of the Academy. And then, there's also an episode inside of the $1 Million Case Study. So if you look at $1 Million Case Study Season 4, there's an episode, the title has patent and trademark in it. So you can check that one out, and Greg does a whole episode breaking down ways that you can look into that. Do you have anything else to add there, Kerry?
No, I've had a similar, when I was doing some product research, I found this cool collapsible water bottle, and I was like, wow, this is a great opportunity. But then I Googled, and within 20 minutes, I was able to figure out that it was patented. And so I didn't want to sell that particular product. So just some Googling you can usually find. Also, if anyone's been following our social media, Jenna, she was kind of launching a product, and she was going to do some TRX bands, and it turns out they were patented. So, just some Googling is usually an easy way if you don't have money to find information. But yeah, you don't want to waste your money. So you really want to find out this information as upfront as possible. So yeah. Yeah,
definitely. So offhand, you can go to googlepatents.com, type in the product or things like that. As Kerry said, just Googling the product in general, Googling the name of the product plus trademark or patent, and see if any results come up. Go to the uspto.gov, I think is the website, and doing a trademark search is another thing you can do there. Another quick tip that just came to mind that is kind of in a similar area is if you are on Seller Central and you go to create a new listing, I think it's inside of the, I don't know if this is rolled out to everyone, but there's kind of this new type of view that Amazon rolled out a little while ago. But essentially when you go to create a new listing, you type in the name of the product, and then below it shows all of the categories that you could sell that product in. And if that product is restricted or gated or something like that, it will actually tell you. And so you can just do a really quick check like that inside of Seller Central to see if there's any restrictions on Amazon's end, whether they've banned that product or anything like that. So that's just kind of like another quick tip that came to mind. All right. Let's see what other questions we have here. Let's see, Selling Made Easy says, I'm in Australia, but I'm selling in Amazon USA. I've recently registered a company in Australia, waiting for tax file number to come through. Should I do I'm assuming brand registry after the company setup, or can I do it now through IP Accelerator? So I guess I'd preface that, yeah, I haven't used the IP Accelerator. I don't know all the ins and outs of this program. I do think it's open to, firstly, I do think it's open to people outside of the US. So I do believe that you can use that from Australia is the first thing. The next thing, it's up to you whether, it's like if you're still waiting for your company to be set up in Australia, you can use the IP Accelerator. Essentially, you're registering a trademark. You can register a trademark as an individual, but just keep in mind that, yeah, it's going to be tied to you as an individual versus if you wait for your company to be set up and you use that entity, then it will be registered to the company, which might be what you prefer, okay? So I guess it's up to you whether you want to, yeah, just register now as an individual and have that trademark registered to you, or whether you want to register it to your company. So yeah, I guess that's kind of a decision you'd need to make there. But past that, this is kind of an area that I don't know a whole lot about. Is there anything else that you would say to that, Carrie?
I'm not an expert in that area either, so I don't want to give the wrong advice. But yeah. So I think what you said is good, but maybe contacting somebody who can help you with that kind of setup. I don't want to give you the wrong information, so that's a little more complicated. And I'm not as familiar with Australia, moving stuff over. So.
Yeah, I mean, what you can do, so essentially the IP Accelerator program, it gives you a list of all the sort of partners that Amazon work with or associate with. So you could reach out to some of those and basically talk to them and go, this is my scenario, this is my situation, and get advice from them before you actually get the process started. So that's probably what I'd recommend is reach out to one of the IP Accelerator, companies. All right. Selling Made Easy also asks, do I need a business bank account before I transfer from sole to company? So from like an individual to a company. I don't know, again, this is, the legal side of things I'm not super, experienced with. I'd say just personally, I'd say yes. Usually, I mean, I know from setting up a company in Australia that I was required to set up a business account in order to have the company anyway. That was like kind of one of the requirements that I had to do. But whether or not you need to do it, I'd say it's probably, I would highly suggest you do that because you really just want to keep everything as clean and neat as possible. So you wouldn't want to kind of change to your company or business entity, but then you're still linked to maybe like a personal bank account or something like that. It just makes it a lot easier if you move everything over together. So if you're now going to change to running your business under a company, then I think it would make sense. And I think it'd just be better to hold off until you can transfer everything across. And it's like, okay, now it goes into the same business account as the name of the entity and so forth. So that's my personal advice, is just to keep it really nice and neat and tidy, keep it all together. But yeah, again, probably best advice here would be to speak to a professional to get the best advice on how to structure it. All right. Ramanpreet says, hi, can you please advise what to write on a product insert? Can we ask for a review, but not a positive one? I'm glad that you wrote that, because that's definitely something that you can no longer do. I'm a little bit in two minds of product inserts. I mean, like, my products still have them to this date, but I feel like we're starting to get to a point where it'd be best to kind of like remove them entirely, or at least remove any references to asking for reviews. I don't know, what are your thoughts on product inserts at this point in time, Carrie?
Yeah, I mean, I think when, we were trying to find ways around getting reviews, because it was kind of a harder scenario to make some sales and get those initial reviews. But now there's a button that you can press to request reviews that's on Seller Central, which makes it a lot easier. So the focus on getting a review, it's not as hard as it used to be, because literally when you push that button, Amazon's going to prompt that person and ask them for you. So it's just not as challenging. And I think people, maybe it's hard to change your mindset that that's probably not your biggest hurdle right now. In regards to your product inserts, what I have in ours is, information about our company, like cool packaging, information about our company. And, I even actually have our website. We have stickers in there for our company for just some branding information. There's a lot of different things that you can do on whatever your product is. So get creative with that. But again, the review situation, it's not really as imperative as it used to be, because it just seemed like it was such a hard thing to get those initial reviews, but it just isn't that anymore. So my advice would be to focus on building your brand, building that awareness, kind of just that branding aspect of, what do I need to put in here to make this a memorable product for me, not just any product that comes in a plastic bag from Amazon. What would make them come back to my product? What would make them recommend my brand and product to somebody else over another? That's where I would recommend going in that direction.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I love that answer. I mean, I think even in its heyday, I don't know that product inserts were the great, like, it's so hard to measure it, but it's like, I highly doubt that there's like a huge conversion rate of people leaving reviews from product inserts anyway. It was more so just like everyone scrambling for any possible way to get extra reviews. But like you said, Carrie, there's now much easier, better ways to get reviews. To this point, at this point in time, I think if you're asking people for a review in a very, very neutral way, then it's like, I think that's still okay, but it's sort of like, now that there's so many better ways to do it, I would probably just eliminate that entirely, because Amazon's TOS just changes all the time, or depending on who you get or who looks at your product or something, like, it could just suddenly, turn on you. So it's just sort of like, it's not worth, I guess it's like not worth the risk anymore, and there's just better ways to do it. So just really, emphasizing what Carrie said there.
Yeah, I just think that Amazon is always changing too. And so as sellers, we just need to be adapting and just changing our mentality to what's next. And yeah, I don't know. I think this is a good example of this, that there's a lot of things that are changing that we need to just be adapting to. And what do we need to focus on next? Where is our energy best focused for more sales, for a better experience for our customers? So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah. Alrighty. So here's a question from Vincent who says, how do I come back from all the failures? That's an interesting question, because this is, now we're talking more about mindset. And despite all the strategies and tips and hacks and whatever else that we talk about here, a lot of this business does come down to mindset, because it doesn't matter how much information you've got, who your mentor is, all of that stuff, isn't gonna prevent you from having obstacles and setbacks and failures, if you want to call it that. So every single person, watching this or it's attempting this business is gonna have these sort of setbacks from time to time. And so, to become successful, you do need to come back from it, as you say. So how do you come back from it? I'm just trying to think about my top advice for this. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is just to understand that you will have challenges and setbacks, so that when they do come up, like something happens that's like, oh, this really sucks, or this has really thrown a spanner in the works. If you can kind of recognize that and go, you know what, this is a sign that I'm on the path of an entrepreneur. This is just like, this is part of the process. If you can just understand that it's going to happen, hopefully that will prepare you a little bit more for when you do have these setbacks, and it will hopefully keep you motivated that, like, yes, I just got to push past this, because, these things happen, but the people that succeed are the people that push past it. It's really about how you react to the problems that you face, more so than the problems themselves, because there's always an answer to it, right? There's always a way to get around it. You just need to keep going. I would say, in terms of I'm trying to think of some practical advice, that I can give you. Being part
I have
of,
some practical.
I know a lot of people find it really valuable being part of communities like our Facebook group, the FBA Competitive Edge. It's a great place where if you do have any troubles, you can post questions there, and there's thousands and thousands of people there, tens of thousands of people, that there's bound to be other people that have had that experience, and they can help you out in terms of how to get around that problem. So reaching out to people, is probably one little practical thing I can think of. I'm gonna keep thinking. Do you have any tips to share, Kerry, about how to overcome adversity or the challenges that we all will face?
Definitely. I would say to think back and look at maybe some of the failures along the way, or maybe some mistakes that you made, write them down, and kind of take a look at how you can make them better next time. I think that's a good kind of moving forward technique, is okay, now that I know all of these things, none of that is going to be an issue now, and I can move forward. Or if I need to launch another product, I won't make that mistake again. I think a lot of times when we make these mistakes, we'll never forget them, and we won't make them again. And that kind of is what makes us better and what makes us stronger. So just kind of looking back at those things. Also, listening to other people's failures, I think, is a really important thing too, because everybody who's really made it in life has failed a ton. Or maybe we shouldn't call them failures, maybe just call them learning experiences. Yeah. Because no one's going to do things perfectly the first time. And I've listened to some podcasts. There's a lot of seller stories out there on different podcasts, and there have been multiple where they're I failed on my first product, I failed on my second product even, and now I'm an 8-figure seller. You learn along the way, and sometimes you also can take power away from those failures. Okay, yeah, I made this mistake, but I'm still alive. I still have, opportunity here. I still can make a change and make a difference. So taking a power away from these little mistakes that you make along the way, and yeah, you might lose $100 here because you did this mistake or there. Don't let it overtake your mentality. Just think of it as a learning experience. Take that learning, apply it to your next one. And and then also just, I think learning from other people's mistakes is the biggest thing that I've, just writing those things down so that whenever I'm experiencing them, or also getting in those forums, like Lenny said, asking questions. How did somebody else come through with this problem? Or sit down when you are facing a failure or an adversity or difficulty. Like when I had to destroy some product in customs, that seemed like a huge failure, but we didn't let it take over our whole mindset and our whole business. We just kept going forward, So, yeah, there's just you can't let those things bog you down. They will ultimately to like an entire failure. Whereas there is a lot of opportunity and a lot of success to be had. So I don't know if anyone's ever seen this. There's like a visual picture where there are two guys and they're like chipping away at this tunnel or underground and to look diamonds. And one guy, he's like this far away, and he just is like, oh man, and he quits. And it's like that's kind of what some failures are with Amazon selling. You might get to that point and you might just be like, oh, it's not worth it, but just keep going. You've got the tools, you've got the knowledge, you've got the access to communities and things that can help you to move forward. So you can do it, and just have to remember that you can. So
yeah, exactly.
Hopefully that
Success
helps.
is on the other side of failure, for sure. Yeah. Yep. I think to like kind of sum up what I was trying to say before, but surround yourself with positivity, people, like-minded people that are doing the same thing, that can kind of like help keep you accountable, help keep you motivated, and so forth. Even if that means, even if you don't know anyone in person, for instance, that is doing the same thing as you, or that is entrepreneurial or anything like that. For me, I find podcasts are like a great source of inspiration and motivation. So there's, different business type ones or leadership ones. There's a lot of great Amazon related ones, and like listening to this kind of material, like it physically changes you. Like I know there are days that I wake up, I'm like tired or feeling a little bit down, but I'll listen to a podcast and it's just what I needed to hear, and it really kind of gets you hyped up. If you've got like a couple of minutes and you're feeling down about a challenge, just like go to Gary Vee's Instagram page and like watch a couple of videos, and that will get you fired up. So it's like, make sure you're constantly, filling your mind with positivity and that type of content, and that will kind of give you the energy and the motivation to like push past.
Well said.
Cool. Speech over. Alrighty, so we'll keep moving through these questions. The next one is from Betty, who says, will shipping prices be cheaper once Chinese New Year is over? So shipping prices definitely increase in Q4. They're crazy in Q4. I'm not sure how much I'm assuming they probably do come down between, the end of Q4 and Chinese New Year. So I don't know specifically whether they've already come down after Q4 or whether it will be more so after to Chinese New Year. I don't know if you kind of follow the shipping price trends, Carrie.
Yeah, and I think mostly Q4 is when we've seen the biggest obvious increase, but I don't expect that they go down.
Probably not specifically Chinese New Year. Like I'm thinking it's probably more after Q4.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Q4 is when they usually kind of go down again after Q4. So yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it depends what
shipping
you're referencing.
Usually. Yeah. Yeah. Shipping's usually pretty stable though, based on what I've seen.
Yeah, just outside of Q4.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Pretty much. I don't have anything else to add. Sorry.
Yeah, same here. All right, so the next question is from, why do items that have 0 monthly and daily sales in the Chrome extension still show as having reviews?
I can answer this one.
I don't know. So essentially here, I mean, it's perfectly possible for a listing to have reviews. You can open up the listing and you can actually verify how many reviews it's got, of course. But it's possible that it has like a handful of reviews and it's got 0 monthly and daily sales just because it's not selling well. It doesn't mean it's never sold in the past. It just means it's not selling very, very well. I think in the Chrome extension, I think it's actually, I think it actually shows like less than 5, because like when the sales are that low, when it's like, under 5, it's really hard then because the sales are so slow, it's really hard to pinpoint an exact number when it's that low, but it essentially means 0. So if it's still got some reviews, I'm guessing that maybe it gets like a couple of sales per month, and so every now and then it does get a review. So I think it's possible to still be getting a handful of reviews now and then, but essentially have 0 sales daily or monthly. What I would say, if something does seem legitimately off though, where it doesn't make sense, then feel free to email Jungle Scout support and send us in the ASIN that you're referring to, and we could like investigate that specific listing a bit more and try to figure out what's going on there. All right. Betty says, does the supplier charge you the same amount as a sample to send 1 unit to your photographer? What has been your experience, Carrie?
I've usually just sent stuff to the photographer after I've gotten it. I'm assuming that it would probably be the same amount of shipping because it is expensive to ship from China. Some photographers are located in China, so that could reduce your shipping cost if the photographer is in China, because there are some freelancers in China who do product photography. So it really just depends on the shipping cost. Usually it's kind of high for samples or just one-offs. So usually it's about the same, I would say. But the way I do it is once we get the product, then we start doing the photography. So
yeah, I guess in my experience, well, I mean, I've always done my own photography, but normally what I do is once I place an order, I usually ask, there was a period where I would get them to send me a unit from each order or every other order. And so I'd get 1 or 2 units sent to me personally at the same time as my big order goes out. And with the suppliers that I've worked with, they've never charged me for that. Essentially, I guess just because I've been placing, I'm already buying, 1,000 units or something for them. They've been happy just to send me a complimentary unit. I don't know if all suppliers will do that. Some might charge you for that. But yeah, in my experience, I've been able to get, some units, 1 or 2 units sent to me for free, or or it's only cost me like $20 or something like that. So I think that you should be able to get around that. I don't think you should have to pay another $50, $100 or something to get another unit sent to you. I think it's probably more so in the sample stage because, they get lots of requests for samples and, they don't want to just be sending out product for free. I think once you've made a commitment and you're working with that supplier, they're more willing to kind of help you out at that point. All right, let's see. Okay, so there's a question. Do you answer questions in the buyer course whenever I needed? Okay, so I'm assuming you're talking about the Freedom Builder Bootcamp, sort of Jungle Scout paid course. So within that course, as I mentioned, at the moment, the course stores are closed. We will reopen it again. If you are interested, go to freedombuilderbootcamp.com to sign up to get updates when that one is open again. But yes, in the course, you do get access to an exclusive Facebook community, and then myself and Greg and Rolando, if you guys remember him from the $1 Million Case Study, we're all in there answering questions for you guys as well. And you do have access to kind of an exclusive support line. So yes, that's a big element as part of the course, is that you do get special access and you get your questions answered in a sort of priority lane. So yes, is the answer to that one. All right. Betty says, is it a good sign if a few of the sponsored ads on the main keyword aren't exactly what that keyword is? I would say yes, that is a good sign. Yeah, I guess I would say that is a good sign because if, the product that's showing isn't the main keyword, then I don't know. Sorry, are you saying something, Carrie?
I think Yeah, I was saying, I'm thinking it could mean a lot of different things. It could mean that someone's really bad at PPC and they're overpaying for the wrong words. Um, I wouldn't take that as a sign of any sort. But
Right.
when you do start doing PPC, you can play around with the prices. But I don't know, PPC isn't something I ever use as a guideline, just because there's people who are really good at managing it and really bad at it, and so there's a very strong possibility that somebody is overpaying for keywords that don't have anything to do with their product, because there are a lot of people who write words into their listings that are not relevant. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily take that as a sign of anything.
Yeah, that's a good point. I
Just
guess,
because, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, you've got the right answer. It's not really an indication of anything, but I guess I personally like it when I see someone else's product there that's nothing to do with the main keyword, because I just know that, like, that's one less listing that customers are going to click on. They're obviously not going to click on that because that's not what they searched for, so there's more chance they're going to click on my listing when that particular ad is being shown. So that's kind of a good thing, but yeah, like you said, it's not really an indicator of, competition or anything like that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just someone that's
exactly.
wasting money.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Okay, the next question.
All right. Da-da-da-da. Okay, Ali says, I need clarification. I study in Milan, so I cannot be self-employed here. Without being self-employed, do I have another way to have an EAN in a country that I only have a temporary permit of stay? Do you have any thoughts, Carrie? I'm just trying to
I
break this one
don't. I
down.
think that's probably like a legal situation. Not really sure about that.
Yeah, that's kind of a tricky
Yeah.
one. I don't really have any experience or don't really know where to suggest to go for that one.
Yeah. No. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, we can't help you
That'd
further
be a
with that one,
legal
Ali.
question. Yeah.
All right. Betty asks, how do you deal with analyzing a product over time? For example, when you first check, it looks wonderful, and then as time moves on, it becomes slightly less in demand and slightly more competitive. Well, I guess ultimately the way that we go about doing that is using the product tracker inside of Jungle Scout. And so what that's able to do is to track real sales on a daily basis, so that over time you can go back as far as the past 60 days and you can see how the sale, like the real sales, have trended over that time. So that's like a really good indicator of kind of how that
Yeah.
product is doing right now and over the last 2 months. So I always recommend people add at least 8 to 10 or 15 listings if possible of the product or the niche that you're going into. Add all of those listings into the product tracker, and I always recommend tracking them for at least 2 weeks. Really the longer you track them, the better. But yeah, tracking a whole bunch of products, seeing how their sales are going over a long period of time is kind of the best way to do it. But if you're using the product tracker, then you've actually got the data there, rather than kind of like checking on one day and you can see like, oh, this is, what the monthly or the daily sales is on this particular day. Then if you just check randomly 2 weeks later and it's something different, then you've really only got 2 data points. But the advantage with using the product tracker is that it will track every single day, so you can see all of that data and make more of an informed decision. So hopefully that helps you out.
I have another suggestion too. You can also
Cool.
go and look at Google Trends as well for that particular type of product. Because I realized one of our products, it seemed like it was on the downward trend, like we weren't selling as much as we had before. And when I looked at Google Trends, I could see that there was an overall downward trend for that particular niche. That was on an upward trend for a few years, but because of maybe some different types of innovative products that were introduced into the market, that particular product is on a downward trend, and was much easier to see that on Google Trends we are building some other things into the product that will be able to show you more of the trends as well. So so stay tuned for that.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see if we can like smash through some questions here.
Okay.
So, what's a good minimum search volume for the main keyword? So, as general rule of thumb, we say like a minimum of 300 sales per month. There are some situations where you can look at a lower number, but as a general rule of thumb, that's where I'd start at. All right. Betty also asks, I asked for a refund from Amazon for the months I did not have any products selling and they declined. Anything else I could do? I haven't tried this. Have you, Carrie?
I have not, but I think that you should just try again, because if anyone has ever dealt with Seller Central, yeah, I've heard of people doing it, and dealing with Seller Central is kind of maddening anyways. So sometimes you might get one answer from one person, and then you get a different person, you get another answer the next time. So try again with Seller Central. Don't give up. Just go for it again.
Yeah.
That's sometimes what you have to do with Seller Central. It's really frustrating with anything, honestly, managing your business there. You got to call maybe 10 times to get what you need. So it's going to be prepping you for what's to come.
Yeah.
To Seller Central.
Good advice.
Yeah.
All right. Next question is, what's your typical pricing strategy? Oh, what do you think, Carrie?
I usually take a look at the prices of things that are already selling and try to go within that range. When I first start a product, I go a little bit on the lower side to have that more, to kind of catch those people who are, price incentivized to get those sales. And then as time goes by, I up the price. And we've seen, even we saw with our jungle sticks, like adding, upping the price actually increased the sales, which kind of makes you think, well, that's crazy, but there's a perceived value when a product costs a little bit more. When something is too cheap, you don't necessarily think it's quality. So you want to be sure to balance and not go too cheap, but not go too high when you're starting out, but then kind of gradually increase incrementally the price. And that's kind of what I've done, and it works pretty well over time. And if you start to see, you've increased the price and the sales really drop, you can tell you've gone too far and maybe go back a little bit.
Yeah. So there's a lot of testing involved, but I'd agree with you. Essentially, you just want to kind of figure out kind of like the market price, what's the lowest price, what's the highest price product, and what most people like, what's the average price for that product, and then based off of that, determine like, where are you sitting? Are you selling a more premium product or a bundle or something that goes into the higher end, or are you better priced somewhere in the middle? And then like Carrie, I also, when launching a product, drop the price because you don't have any reviews or credibility and you're just trying to get those initial sales, and again, appealing to people that are price sensitive. So I think that's a great starting place, but pricing's a hard one. You often need to be doing various tests and kind of constantly watching what your competitors are doing, and then when it gets into Q4, for instance, things change like throughout time of the year, but I think what we've outlined is like a good starting place.
Yep.
All right. Okay, I've found several 7 and 8 product opportunity scores. Should I keep doing research in case there's a better product, or should I go forward with one of those products I've already found? I would say, finding a 7 and an 8 product opportunity score is really awesome, but I wouldn't ever just go off of the opportunity score. That's kind of a starting point. You do want to dig into each of the other items that we often talk about. So again, reference the $1 Million Case Study here on YouTube. Go to the Academy if you're inside of Jungle Scout. Greg does a really great breakdown of exactly what he looks for in a good product. And so I would still go through that entire process. The 7 and 8 is a great starting point, and that's an indicator that this could be a good product, but you still want to kind of go a bit deeper. So that's my answer is I would still go through all of the other product research checks that we suggest. And then if it seems like a good product from there, then I'd pursue it. But I wouldn't make a decision based off of opportunity score alone. Anything else, Carrie?
No, it's hard to when you don't know the product too. So yeah, I think that was well said. Yeah.
Cool. All right, we've got a follow-up question from Rob regarding the brand registry. Now that I have brand registry, can you explain the GTIN exemption? I've not got through to that part yet. Thanks. So the cool thing about having brand registry, in a nutshell, when you list new products underneath that brand name, you can now list them without needing a UPC or EAN barcode. So that's where you don't have to go to GS1 or you don't have to worry about any of that now. So GTIN exemption, I can't remember what GTIN even stands for, but basically it's just that product barcode or code that you need. And now you don't need that anymore. So yeah, essentially that's in a nutshell. When you launch your next product underneath your brand, you don't need a UPC barcode, which is, takes one less thing off your mind. So that's a really cool benefit to brand registry. All right. What would you recommend to increase sales significantly and sustainably except the giveaways, social media, Amazon PPC? Let's assume we have a high tolerance for expenditure, 10 to 15K. Okay. This is kind of interesting because now it's like you're saying you don't mind spending additional money. Because normally our answer would be, it's like, to be the most conservative with the money that you've got, you're better off sticking within Amazon. You're going to get your best sort of bang for buck there. But if you do have extra money and, like you said, a higher tolerance, this is where things like Facebook or Instagram ads, this is where I'd be reaching out to, influencers. I know that's something you've talked about previously, Carrie, on Ask Jungle Scout. What else? So I guess it's like now we're starting to talk about external advertising. That's where you would be putting your money if you want to be generating sales, using additional budget. Do you have any other ideas, Carrie?
I think what we always preach is to do a lot of the things, and kind of all these things together will help boost your brand and your presence and your sales. So there isn't always just one thing that you're going to do that's going to just amazingly blow up your sales. You want to be consistent, make sure all your listings are well written, make sure you've got great photos. If you don't have great photos, make sure you invest in those. Investing in video for those ads if you have the money, because sometimes those videos can cost a bit. If you have the money, do some video ads that are really catchy, that are going to make people want to kind of click on your ad and find more out about your product, or things like that. And social media influencers are a great way to do it. All these different things can really help boost you. And I don't necessarily recommend just doing one thing, but being consistent in the things that you do choose. And, I wouldn't say do everything all the time, but like focus on the areas where that works. Like, your PC on Amazon. I know that you said not to focus on that, but if you do video ads, make sure you do them well, and make sure you understand how to do your Facebook ads. Just be consistent with things. Don't try something and then just let it fall off. That's confusing to a customer, I think. But there's just not really any one thing I think that's going to just dramatically increase your sales. It's just a consistency and doing great customer service, great listing, great photos, awesome videos. I don't know if that answers the question, but like really just being consistent, I think, is the best thing.
Yeah. I think because you mentioned the word sustainably as well. So, then you start to think about things like content marketing. So for instance, starting a website around whatever your market or niche is and starting to produce content and so forth. Things like that, building a brand, that's more sustainable over the long term, but that's not necessarily going to increase sales in the short term. So I think once you start to go away from things like giveaways, Amazon PPC and so forth, and you're doing some of these off Amazon type things, you're really talking about building a brand. So you kind of need to decide, is that something that you're really wanting to do, is kind of build a brand around your product? But yeah, then you'd be starting to think about like creating content around whatever it is your product is. And these are things that, you know, I would call sustainable over a long period of time, but they're not gonna help you in the interim. But yeah, to Carrie's point, decide on these different ways, because there's so many different things that you can do. Decide on which ones you want to do, and then do them well rather than trying to spread yourself thin over like 10 different channels, for sure. Okay. All right, I think we might have to wrap this up shortly. Let's maybe take 2 more questions and then we'll wrap things up for today. We really appreciate all the questions, guys. It's been amazing. Is there any of those last questions that jump out at you, Carrie?
Sorry, I'll take a look.
Well, I'll let you keep looking. The next one I see here from Adrian is, my automatic keyword campaign keeps pushing my ACOS over 140%, even after regular optimization. Whoops, I lost it. How long does it take to reduce your ACOS costs? So yeah, there's lots of things that you can do to kind of optimize your campaigns. You have less control, of course, when it comes to an automatic campaign. Actually, probably to preface this, I'd say, you know, it also does depend on your listing as well. We often talk about this, Carrie mentioned it before, but like making sure that your listing's well optimized, that has good images, you know, because it's like, if you've got a high ACOS, that means you only pay for clicks. So people are clicking onto your listing, right? So keep that in mind. You're paying for people that are clicking onto your listing, but if your ACOS is high, that means they're clicking, but then they're not buying. So something after they clicked onto your listing, for whatever reason, they're then not purchasing. So the problem may not be within the PPC campaign, but it may be you know, a conversion problem on your listing itself. Maybe they're just not convinced by your bullet points or your images. You know, I don't know, maybe there are competitor ads running on your page that have lower priced products and they don't want to pay for your product. But always keep in the back of your mind to be trying to optimize your listing as best as possible, and, you know, trying to alleviate any reasons that people wouldn't be purchasing your product, okay? So now that we've got that out of the way, in terms of optimizing automatic campaigns, you can't do things on a keyword level like you could with a manual campaign. But what you can do inside of your automatic campaign settings, there is a section that allows you to adjust the bid for, I can't remember like the word, but like how closely matched the keywords are, or like how relevant I think it is the keywords are. I'll have to like look up the name. I can't think of what they're called offhand. But it does give you about like 3 or 4 fields there where you can adjust the bids, and essentially you can reduce the bids on all of them so that, except for the main one where it's like you're mostly bidding on keywords that are really closely related or most closely related to your product. That way you're not spending so much, or you're not bidding as high on keywords that aren't as relevant. So that's one way that you can optimize an automatic campaign specifically. Other than that, if it's a younger listing with less reviews, generally your ACOS will come down as you get more reviews and your listing and product matures. But other than that, there's no real specific time frame in order for your ACOS to come down. It's just, yeah, probably a matter of doing these basic little optimizations and also, you know, optimizing your listing. Do you have any other thoughts on that one, Carrie?
No, I think you're definitely the expert on that, the optimizing PPC. So I think that was well said.
Awesome. All right. Have
I
you
did
seen
want to
any
go
questions?
down. I Yeah,
Yep.
I saw a comment from the same person down about it says, sorry, but getting reviews on Amazon is the hardest thing to do. People use reviews to buy the product. Okay, so I just want to clarify, getting the actual review now is not as hard as it used to be because you have a little click button that you can push. If you're entering into a very competitive market, getting those initial sales is going to probably be more challenging. So when you get the sales, the access to the reviews is a bit easier now. So I just wanted to clarify that um, kind of distinction because I think it might be a little bit confusing on that. As it says, it's very hard for a new Amazon business to get reviews if you're competing against Amazon businesses who have a lot of reviews. And that's true because it's getting those initial sales that's the hard part. So you've got to find strategies to get those initial sales in order to be able to push that button to get reviews. So just wanted to clarify that. Also, I think the question that we should go to next is from Betty Rose, and it was about, if I can just scroll down, she asked, what are your thoughts on a market where everyone is selling one unit under $15 price and you come in selling a two-pack? I actually think that's a great idea to differentiate yourself, especially if it's something where people would want to buy multiples. So you can do a two-pack, a one-pack, a two-pack, a three-pack, and I think that will set you apart from different people. Just kind of bundling. That's definitely a great way to get that price point up instead of because you want to sell things above a certain price point you can be profitable. So as long as you're still profitable in that, I think definitely bundling is a really, really good way to set yourself apart. I know there have been some, like I was watching some things about ClickFunnels. The biggest hack that he found when he was trying to look at his competitors was that when on the checkout page, his competitor offered you can buy 1, 3, 5, or 10, and it's kind of a weird mindset. People are kind of hoarders in the US and want to
Mhm.
buy multiple and just have extra of something. So if it's something like that, it's actually a good tactic to kind of bundle and do like a two-pack, a three-pack, a four-pack, a five-pack. We've actually started doing this for some particular kind of things that you would need to rebuy. And we've seen some good success on doing the bundles. So that's something I would definitely recommend doing. Anything else you'd add to that, Lenny?
No, I just reiterate that I think bundling is a really great idea, particularly when you mention like a two-pack. If it's a type of product that people, that makes sense that people could buy two or that they would be likely to buy two, then it is a good idea because I know, actually, I talked about it earlier, but one of the fees with your Amazon products is a set fee for picking and packing. Again, I'll use the example of like $2. So every single unit you sell, regardless of the price, Amazon will, let's say, charge you $2 to pick and pack and ship it out. Whereas if you now can bundle two of those items, if you sell two individually, that's $4 that comes out of your pocket. If you can sell them together as a pack of two, you're now only going to get charged $2 for selling those two products. So it actually it saves you money as well, even if you're you can just double the price, but then you save money, or that money that you save you could pass on that discount to your customers, and they're more likely to buy a two-pack because it's slightly cheaper than a one-pack. So yeah, I'm just reiterating that I think that's a really great idea to bundle products if you can. Awesome.
All right.
And actually, just to follow up on that previous comment you had regarding getting reviews, guys, we're going to actually be hosting, or I'm going to be hosting a webinar this coming Tuesday that's going to be on that very topic of how to get reviews on Amazon. So we haven't actually announced that yet. I think we've got an email that's going to go out about it in the next day or so. But stay tuned. That will be live here on YouTube. I think it's going to be I'm pretty sure it's going to be next Tuesday, 2 p.m. Central, so stay tuned for that one. I'm going to be breaking down how you can get reviews in 2020 and sharing our top 3 strategies and a new tool that you can use to do so. So yeah, we will be diving deep into how to get reviews then. You will see some notifications if you follow Jungle Scout, but otherwise you will find it here on YouTube. So make sure to subscribe to our channel to be notified when we go live, and yeah, hopefully I'll see some of you guys on Tuesday. But otherwise, I think we might wrap it up there, Carrie. Thank you everyone for all of the questions. It's been an absolute pleasure answering them all. If you guys have got some value from this, please give us a big thumbs up below. And yeah, again, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of these videos. It has been kind of an interesting few weeks. We've been on our sort of company retreat last week in Costa Rica. Before that, we've had holidays and it's been kind of a busy season, but do expect us back every Thursday moving forward. It'll be Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central should be our regular time. Or actually, yeah, it'll definitely be Thursday, every Thursday, but you guys will see that one if you're subscribed to our channel. So I hope to see you guys in future weeks. Well, thanks again, Carrie, for jumping on and helping answer all these questions.
Thanks for having me. I love doing these, and hopefully, you know, these are people are finding these really helpful. I think they are. I love the questions. So come back with more questions, write them down throughout the week. We love it when you come with really good questions. So thank you guys so much for all the awesome questions in the chat.
Absolutely. All right, guys, thanks again. Take care, and we'll see you in the next episode.